Howdy, folks. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. Welcome back or welcome aboard. We are glad to have you. This is Dr. Richard Owen, and
I'm a surefire.
And
Uncle Bocce
in the house. We are glad you're here. We've got kind of an interesting show for you tonight. There's an awful lot going on in politics, needless to say. The run-up to a couple of national conventions where we're supposed to nominate some presidential candidates, not to mention what went on just recently with Hillary Clinton and the results of the FBI investigation, et cetera, et cetera. And not all of it would be considered good news, mostly because it's politics and they have a tendency to play dirty. So that's just kind of the name of the game. As a result, we have had recently a conversation with a couple of bright young people out of Austin, Texas, and thought we would give you that conversation this evening. It's just kind of a lighter note to think through the fact that there are some, probably a lot of millennials that are really focused on what they're supposed to be doing and doing the right thing. And that's what this conversation with Tyler Gwynn and Ben Woods will represent. And we will get into it at the usual time after the usual process. And then we'll have some time left to talk about what the show title references as politics as usual. So we will... after I get through telling you we're all over the social media as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW, we will start in our traditional manner with a moment of inspiration from Ms. Surefire. Take it away.
Tonight's quote comes from inspirationaldaily.com, and it's from a lady by the name of Charlotte Whitten. She was a Canadian feminist and mayor of Ottawa during the years of 1951 through 1956. And her quote is, "We all have ability. The difference is how we use it."
Well said.
Sweet.
Well
It's
said.
true.
That's true. Our leadership quote tonight is from our friends at Crowned Grace International, and it's from a fellow by the name of David Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz was a well-known motivational writer who had a very popular book in 1959. I think it was something along the lines of, if you're going to think big. You know, I don't remember the exact title. He passed away in 1987. Mr. Schwartz said, "Hope is a start, but hope needs action to win victories."
I like that one.
In other words,
good.
got to
Plant the seed.
hope is fine, but you got to get something done. You got to make progress. You got to move forward. So now that we know what tonight's show is about, and we've reminded everybody that we're all over the social media, done our perfunctory lead-ins to the show, including our little rock around the clock instrumental, we will take a few moments, 10 minutes or so, and get a little history lesson from Uncle Bocce. Uncle Bocce, where are we tonight?
Tonight we're going to talk about the French
Okay.
and their colonial activities.
All right.
But before I get to that, I just want to make one last comment about Texas history.
Okay.
I don't know if you all caught on to Texas history, how similar Texas history is to the 13 original colonies in many respects. A group of men, or a group of men and women who were tired of the tyrannical rule of the Mexican government, decided we don't want this anymore.
Right.
So it's very, very similar
And they fought for their freedom.
And they fought for their freedom, just like the colonies.
And the funny part about it was the reason that they had kind of a short fuse, relatively speaking, the number of years it took them to get to that point, was that they had fled to Texas from what they considered to be a tyrannical government in Washington at the time.
Right.
They had already had enough of centralized rule, et cetera, and headed out west to make their mark. and the Mexicans tried to pull the same thing on them.
That's
so
right.
you're exactly right. Thank
Okay.
you.
So now on to New France. Now, France controlled a vast area centered around the Mississippi River and was explored and claimed by France during the mid-17th century. It composed several colonies. Some of these you'll know. Acadia, which is the northeasternmost part of the current United States, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, that area.
They have a cafe out around 151.
Acadia Cafe?
Right.
Yeah, Acadiana, in fact, that's what it's there's a restaurant called
Yummy.
that.
Yummy.
And
Cajun food.
Canada, Newfoundland, Louisiana, and a few other small areas that I won't mention at the moment. Although all of these territories would become under British control in the 18th century, only portions of Canada, Acadia, and Louisiana became parts of the United States.
Huh.
And now we'll look a little more detail on that.
Okay.
The first colonies were set up as trading posts in Newfoundland. The others followed in the wake of exploration. They went up the St. Lawrence River, parts of Canada, and the Mississippi River.
Okay.
Settlements include Quebec, Montreal, and Louisiana. Louisiana was settled in the late 1600s. The others were earlier in the 1600s. Now, initially, they were fur traders and merchants and missionaries.
Where
The French, of course, were very Catholic.
where do Lewis and Clark? You're talking about the terror. Where do Lewis and Clark figure into what you're saying? They were way ahead of that, right? Like in the 14s or 1500s.
No. Lewis and Clark didn't come into play until after
Okay.
the Louisiana Purchase.
Okay, but
Because
they
that area-
ran that territory,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's what they did. Was
Right.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Okay, so in 1665, there were 1,100 French soldiers. They arrived in New France, and they were given land. Here's a very interesting thing. Neither Protestants nor peasant farmers were allowed to emigrate. They just were not allowed to. The Protestants did have some role in establishing New France, but they were not welcomed there, and neither were peasants.
Why was it Catholic?
Yes. The French were very, very, very Catholic and very beholden to the Pope.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they were excluded from the colonies. By 1773, the population of Detroit, which was a colony of the French, was about 1,400 people. The colonies, and this is the same mistake that the Spanish made, okay? They were fully subject to the French king. Okay? So they had no time for thinking other things and being, freedom and all of that. There were no political rights. They had no representative government. And public meetings, you couldn't have them. No way. They were not permitted unless you got permission.
That's crazy.
Okay. Now, at the end of our war for independence in 1783, the region south of the Great Lakes formally became part of the United States.
Okay.
Unincorporated territory, but nevertheless it became part of the United States. Colonial life was largely controlled by the French Catholic clergy. Okay? Although the French government encouraged farming, it was actually the fur trade where that was more monetarily beneficial to them. In fact, several plantations that they actually did try to establish along the Mississippi Valley totally failed. Despite conversion efforts of the missionaries, French respect for Native Americans allowed many to forge alliances, especially in the wars against the British. Remember the French and Indian War?
Yeah.
The French, for some reason or other, had an affinity for the Native Americans, and they were close with them. Now, there are a couple of other areas that we can talk to. There's called Pays den Haut. I don't know how to say it in French, but it's the top country or the upper country. And that's where the fur traders made all their money. They pushed out from Montreal and west along the Great Lakes and upriver to the upper area of Louisiana.
I'm sure they found that super fertile.
To give you,
They were the first ones there.
To give you an idea of the area we're talking about. You know, Green Bay,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin was founded by the French, and so was Detroit in 1701.
Okay.
Then there was the Illinois country, which was south of the Great Lakes, and by 1752, the French population of 2,500. It was located west of the Ohio country, as they called it, but south of the Great Lakes. According to one scholar, the Illinois habitant was a gay soul. He seemed shockingly carefree to later self-righteous Puritans from the American colonies. So they were quite a different crowd. They were a happy-go-lucky crowd.
Okay.
And where are we on time?
You got a couple of minutes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Louisiana. Now, the French claims...
Speaking of happy-go-lucky crowds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. French claims to French Louisiana stretched thousands of miles from modern-day Louisiana north, largely to the unexplored Midwest and west and west to the Rocky Mountains, the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. So it was a huge area.
Really?
It was a huge area that was under French control. It was generally divided to the upper and the lower Louisiana. Louisiana, hey. Okay, it was generally defined. Okay, this vast tract was first settled, believe it or not, at Mobile and Biloxi. That the French actually did get into that area as well. Now the settlement proceeded.
So not New Orleans.
Yes, no, the French had New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they established.
So you're saying it went as far over as Mobile, Alabama?
Right. They went that far.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
As well as more. Okay.
And there in that area there were 7,000 French immigrants who founded New Orleans.
Right.
New Orleans. In 1718.
Wow.
Okay. The settlement proceeded very slowly.
Well,
and
it's New Orleans.
Though New Orleans became an important port, there was little other economic development in the area. So the French weren't making out too well. In 1763...
It's the same reason they work a 20-hour work week today.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, they're French.
Yeah. I think this is a good stopping point for me because there are a couple of really good things that...
deserve some focus next week.
That deserve some focus for next week.
Okay.
It's some very interesting things. So let's
Good job.
Stop there, and we'll come back to it next week.
Other than telling your throngs of followers where to find you.
Uncle Bachi, UNCLEBACI at DocOwenShow.com.
Bingo. Thank
Appreciate
you, Uncle Bachi.
Thank you, Uncle Bachi.
Good job. Good
You're
job.
welcome.
I didn't. That was news to me. That was all interesting. That was news. I mean, I didn't realize that the French was
occupied some.
Yeah, had that much territory.
Yeah.
So
Like a
interesting.
steamroller.
Next week we'll
Went
see
around, too.
how
they lost
failed
it.
Yeah.
How they either lost it or
Yeah.
they sold it or whatever they did with
They
it.
lost
Okay.
it twice, actually.
Okay.
Tune in next week.
There you go. Good trailer.
I like that. It's like a soap opera.
Let's take about.
I like it.
Right, exactly.
Let's take about 30 seconds for a brief commercial intermission, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas.
Call 1-800-352-3127. Again, 1-800-352-3127. A fee-based company.
Howdy, folks. This is the Doc Owen Show. Welcome back, or welcome aboard if you're just joining us. You missed Uncle Bocce's brief, which was a little history lesson into the French occupation of certain territories of the United States before it became the United States. Thanks again, Uncle Bocce. Good job.
Very welcome.
Our next up on the agenda are a conversation that the Doc Owen Show had with a couple of young men by the name of Tyler Gwynn and Ben Woods. And they are, late 20s, early 30 millennials that have ventured off and opened their own clothing store. It's a gentleman's clothier, men's clothing and whiskey, I think is kind of the tagline. But I'm bringing it to you because it's good news. Our target audience is millennials. It ain't all bad. There's some really good young people out there doing the right thing and doing their best to prosper and growing their families. And, we never seem to give enough credence to the fact that that's going on. And it really is. And Tyler and Ben represent that crowd. The name of their store is Weathered Coalition. And you'll notice from this that, I do not do interviews. I don't have set questions and wait for a response. I have conversations, and it's a little bit different and intended that way so that it's more comfortable. So here we go. You're going to sit back, enjoy. You got about a 23 or 24 minute conversation with Tyler Gwynn and Ben Woods. We are in Austin, Texas, in a neighborhood affectionately referred to as the Domain. Correct me if I'm wrong. At a really, really cool store by the name of Weathered Coalition. And two very bright and ambitious young men have no idea what they're getting into or have already gotten
I have
into.
no idea.
But I do. And I like it. And that's the reason I wanted to come up here and get a podcast with them and do some chatting around in kind of corporate environment.
Right. We met
That's right. We had settled in on Austin.
Right.
You're right, man.
So, we'd met, decided on Austin. The way we met was cool because we were sitting next to each other. He asked me about starting a menswear blog, and I was doing graphic design. I was like, sure, I could help you out with that. And then I pulled out my wallet for some reason, and we had the same wallet from this, really random wallet maker in Florida.
Okay.
And so initially we were like, wait a minute. Hold on. We got the same brand here. What's going on? Yeah. So that sparked the whole thing, really. So it's kind of cool.
Interesting. That's interesting. Well, where did you both buy it at the same place, or did you get it over the net?
Internet.
Internet?
Yeah. My wife bought it for my birthday, and
what are the odds?
Yeah, just crazy.
What are the odds?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a huge odds.
The whole thing, for us, you'll kind of hear that through our story throughout this. It was a God thing for sure.
Right.
I think you said that you were the next week before I had arrived. You had kind of decided mentally, you were gonna maybe leave. Or you were kind of like, man, I might be thinking about what I want to do with my career, and so it was kind of cool.
You jumped ship first and tried it a little bit in Houston.
So I was in Houston before.
Okay.
And I had just moved to where he was.
Okay.
And so we worked together for over a year.
Yeah.
In West Texas. Yeah.
Oh, in West Texas.
Yeah, we were in West Texas.
Okay. But this is, so I misunderstood. Did you try the clothing before?
No. So Ben was telling you earlier was I had been trying to do this concept or something similar to it a couple times.
Okay.
Of course, I was 22, 23, and probably didn't really know what that meant. And so, yeah, I've just been like
He's such an
concepting.
old man. How old are you now, man?
Oh, I'm 27, getting up in my years. So, I was
Sorry.
I was so sprightly.
I love it.
But yeah, I think it took finding someone else that maybe was a little more mature in their career as well. Like, it needed some time. Was the real answer. I just couldn't find the right people.
Well, it sounds like Ben just said he had some exposure to it.
For sure.
Family exposure is a big deal. It was the topic at the dinner table a lot, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah, and for me, it was
that's
like
big.
Absolutely,
that's big.
Yeah. And I'd always wanted to do it as well. It was just, I'm much more of like the numbers, like nerdy guy, I guess. And so like I was like, okay, I got to make
as opposed to the fashionista here.
I guess so. Yeah,
You're the best accountant I've ever met. So
like for me, it was like, how do I make the numbers work? And I was like, I got to wait a little bit longer. Like I'm just not there. Like I'm not ready to like make that jump and leave the stability of that career and all the things that come with that. And so then when we met and started talking, it was like, okay, man, like I'm in the right place, and like he was in the right place. And then I think for us, like just the skill sets alone, it just made perfect sense for us. Like,
and I think personality wise, I can tell. I mean, you guys are you're a good match. You're a good match. So
appreciate that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you put it together. You decided to put it together, and you decided on Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And one of the baselines of the concept is everything's made in America.
Yeah, that's how we've come to market.
Okay.
Long term, we want to continue to really focus on just high quality goods.
Okay.
And we felt like the best way to do that and to be the most transparent about it is to focus on what's happening in our own country right now, and to look at what people are making here, and to be part of the revitalization of manufacturing here. So.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Definitely tough in certain categories. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, we found that
we've lost a lot of ground since I was your age and in this business.
We found that in the research. It was pretty astonishing to look at manufacturing here from like 1960 almost to now, and just the way it was just decimated and sent overseas. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I was going to say too, I think for us, like, at the end of the day, like a story behind a product is so much more important, and it really like creates a deeper value to the product and the experience if there's a story behind it. And so for us, it was like, there's so much stuff now that doesn't carry a story. It's like, well, where did you get that wallet? It's like, well, I bought it at Target. Like, what does that really mean? Like, it doesn't carry any kind of like long-term like story with it that you can pass down to your kids. I mean, I'm wearing a vintage Timex my dad gave me from the 80s. So like, I just like understood that story, and I know Tyler did too. And that was huge. It was like, how do we carry products in the shop that people can give to their grandkids and their children? Like there's something really awesome about that, you basically living through that product long after you're gone, kind of thing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. I mean, A, the product holds up. You got to make sure of that. But B, the story is you're dead on. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that I liked it was I could sense that that's what you were doing just from my initial exposure via the website. And your dad, although he wasn't all that sure what you were doing.
My dad is still,
he was like, here, let me give you his Twitter handle. You guys talk.
He knew what Twitter was. That's good.
Yeah, he did. He knew what it was, but he didn't know.
I'm helping him out one holiday at a time, giving him gifts and stuff. So
Tyler's father and I are good friends, and actually that's how I got to know Tyler was through his dad. He and I worked together, so. Just for the audience's information. And so, a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you staying with or trying to stay with 100% natural fibers or natural products? In other words, all cotton, all wool? Or are you doing blends, or have you thought about that?
Answer that as soon as we
Okay.
That would be good.
Those names you hear, that's good news.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
That's good news.
He's turning on the music every time someone walks in. So.
Oh, is that what he's doing?
These Sonos are pretty sweet. You can set up zones throughout the store, so we've got this one turned off right now.
And all run off of the...
Yeah, it's all on our phones. So, pretty awesome.
What were we talking about?
We talked a little bit about American-made fibers,
Yeah.
and then we were just kind of
Oh,
chatting
you were asking
the
about
sourcing,
all natural.
all natural stuff.
So right now, the focus for us is we're looking at smaller brands that are on
Yep.
the rise in
Yes.
America.
Yeah.
From what we've seen in apparel, it's West Coast, East Coast brands that are in those garment districts. And as far as what materials they're using, they will relay to us where they're sourcing things, which is nice.
Okay.
But we really lean on them to
Well,
to
not
have
so much.
high-quality materials.
You're viewing it from a sourcing perspective, and I'm viewing it from a blend perspective.
Gotcha.
And I ask you for a reason, which is usually the case if you hadn't figured that out.
Something's
We're getting set up here, I think. Hold on.
Tee it up.
Well, at one point in the apparel industry, and your dad will remember it, double knits were the thing. I mean, in men's apparel, double knits just completely took over the fabric double knits. It was double knit everything. All right, and I refused to sell them in Texas and Oklahoma, in my territory. I refused to sell them. I didn't like them. I didn't think they were going to work. It was just my upbringing was the Cole Haan end of the picture, which was very pure.
Sure.
And I'm just not going to put. And I mean, I took a lot of heat.
Yeah.
And my boss allowed me to do that. He said, "No, it's his territory. He can do whatever he wants as long as he makes the numbers. He can sell, But I had customers and retailers that were just raising all kinds of cane because I refused. We had them in the line, and I wouldn't sell them. I did all cottons. And the factory itself did about 80% of their business in double knits that year. And they got about 98% of them back. Because double knits in a men's apparel, when they hung it on the rack, grew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They got longer.
Stretch on it.
Yeah.
They stretched there because of all the internal things that it's in men's. I noticed some of your stuff is what we used to call unconstructed. And the look nowadays doesn't have all of the stuff on the inside and the pockets and the this.
Right.
Guys don't wear their apparel like women do. Women put everything in their purse. We put everything in our pockets.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so they're just made with a lot of pockets. And that's the reason I was asking you that there's something to be said for doing all natural fibers.
Gotcha.
100% wool, 100% cotton, linens. There's all kinds of things you can do, and you can make a real statement with that, and I think be pretty well served.
So
But
now we're going to call our makers and say, check out this radio or this interview we did, and this is why we want all cotton now.
They'll have it in the line.
Yeah.
I mean,
No synthetic fibers.
It makes a statement.
Yeah.
And part of it was also personal because I can't wear anything that's a blend. It literally it makes it doesn't breathe as well.
Gotcha.
Think about it.
Interesting.
You do it personally. I bet you, and don't even think about it. It's just sort of natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
sure,
probably
yeah.
true. So interesting.
So you've got one of your shoe manufacturers that's local. I mean that's here in Austin or pretty close.
Yeah, so one of the brands
Which really
here-
intrigued me.
Yeah, because there's not a ton of brands that are here. I mean, Texas, specifically Austin, not a ton of makers. There's some really great people here in town, but Helm Boots is the brand that you're referring to.
HELM.
HELM, yeah,
Okay.
really great shoe. And so Joshua is the guy who started Helm Boots has been somewhat of a mentor to us and really helped us kind of find our way in Austin.
Where did he learn to do that? I mean, where did he come by?
You know what? He is a man of many skill sets.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure when he got into shoes specifically. He's been in coffee. He's been in shoes. Made all kinds of things. But I know that. Do you know how Joshua started getting into shoes initially? He had that story.
Because he's a long way from shoe country.
Yeah, he is. So, I mean, I think Tyler was mentioning Joshua's been in a bunch of areas. He had a high-end like sneaker shop in San Francisco, several thousand square feet. Both him and his brother,
right.
And then I think he kind of got out of the whole sneaker world, but really always had a passion for shoes. He moved
footwear,
to Austin,
right.
Opened a coffee shop here in a roaster, and was doing coffee stuff. Sold that to some guys, and then actually got back into the shoe thing and wanted to take what he knew about sneakers and really kind of make more of an upscale, not as workwear Americana and not as like a dress shoe, but just more kind of that upscale,
it's
fashionful
exactly
shoe.
it's exactly
Upscale comfort
Austin.
shoe.
Yeah.
Well, it represents Austin so well because
Yeah.
we found like Austin is what it isn't. It's like it's all these different styles kind of meshed together.
It's a lot of
and
different-
that's really why it's a great brand for us because it represents this market really well. So.
I was real impressed. I mean, I think that's a for you guys and for him, but for you guys to
absolutely.
to zone
There's a
in
lot
on
of
that.
synergy there for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Right, but he doesn't have a lot of production.
They're definitely smaller. I mean, so we've got.
Are they handmade? Is
Yeah,
it a handmade
Yeah, they're
shop?
making them all up in Maine, and they're making a few of them out in Arkansas.
Okay.
Where they make, I think they make the Wolverine 1,000-mile boot out in Arkansas.
Right.
They make it in the town my mom grew up in, which is pretty wild.
Okay.
But they make it out there, and they make a lot of they make a few of the Red Wings out there too, I think.
Okay.
He was telling us
Okay.
about that. The thing I thought was cool was the needle. So like he was trying to find someone to. Their soles are very unique, and they were trying to find someone that could break through all the soles to actually get the stitching right. And he had to actually go and get a medical
Like a
needle?
surgical needle.
Yeah, a
It's
surgical
hard.
needle.
To
Yeah,
get through, because it's like a waterlock sole with. I mean, it's a pretty intense.
I mean, yeah. So every boot
setup.
is meticulously made, and
Well, and the thing about it is, when it's doing it like that, it then rotates and locks the stitch to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy for
Totally.
not easy for the particular machine to do.
Right.
I mean, I know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
and if it's that's hard to do.
Yeah.
My dad shipped a whole bevy of shoes one time, and because this lock stitch is between the two soles, you can't see it. It looks like everything's fine. If you look at the top of the sole and the bottom of the sole, they're sewn up.
wow.
Till you wear them a little while,
Yeah.
and then the soles start flapping in the breeze. You know, it was
Nice.
it was a big problem, but you know, it got resolved. So that's the reason I learned. That was when I learned as a real youngster. You know, as
Tie this thing
yeah, how they fit together. So, what else do we want to tell them? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
what else do we want to tell them?
so we're where we're sitting right now in the store. Like, I feel like it's kind of indicative of the whole store. So this is a work lounge in the back of the store.
There you go.
I mean, this table is there is no product on it. This is literally like our back of house where we do have other guys come and work freelance back here, use our Wi-Fi. Behind us is a board of inspiration of products we're thinking about.
I didn't notice any
ordering.
chicken salad or tuna salad or anything.
Yeah,
Did you clean
right.
it up just for us?
We
Oh,
did.
we cleaned up for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I wiped it off.
But that's kind of like our mentality with the whole store. So it's not a traditional showroom. We didn't necessarily look at every square foot and say how much revenue per square foot are we going to accomplish. It's more so what is the experience per square foot. So what is the customer experience when they walk in, and how do they experience the brand per square foot? So it's zoned off in a way where, for example, there's a sink with apothecary, there's a back table where you can work, there's a lounge with footwear, there's a front section with a really dynamic display for apparel. And then
And
we
you
have
can
a
by the way,
bar.
you can have a shot of whiskey.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have a
Yes.
bar attached to our POS where, I mean, all day every day you can come in and have a whiskey or
Okay,
beer,
that was an industry language, and POS may not
Sorry,
interpret
point
very
of
well.
sale. where you check out.
Did he just say that?
Oh my bad. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
But to Tyler's point, I think it was intended to be a community space, really. Like, I
Okay.
mean, when I was growing
Yep.
up, like I would sit around the fireplace with my grandfather, and he would tell stories of going to the old men's shops or places downtown. It was like a gathering of old friends, right?
Fact.
It wasn't.
That's a fact.
It wasn't really about you coming in and buying something and going.
That's where you hung out.
Seeing your friends.
It's your third place.
And and so we wanted to kind of recreate that environment for the modern guy now, because I think that they haven't experienced it, and they don't. Once they experience it, they're like, "This is amazing. This is what I've always wanted, a place where I have friends and I can come in and talk shop or buy something, or
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly true. And tell you how far I go back, and I think I told Tyler this once before. back in the 40s, the mid 40s or so, men's shoes, men's footwear were sold. That was sold at the shoe store. The shop that your grandpa sat down in did not have shoes. It was a clothing store.
Yeah.
And my dad was starving and had to figure out how to help create a market. And there were some little bitty shops across from this, all across the United States, and it started in the Ivy League territory and came this way, and they were called Ivy League stores.
Yeah.
And they were exactly like this. They were small, a place that you hung out where they started to hang out there, and what the owners would do would be to hire the president of each one of the fraternities on cash, give them a little commission or something to go out and sell their stuff in the frat houses and things like that. I mean, they were really just a place to hang out. They didn't have any booze, but
but it was like an old club, just an old place
exactly
for
what
guys
it was.
to get together.
Exactly what it was.
Absolutely.
But long story short, Dad became his customer, talked one of these stores into carrying shoes. And
That's so cool.
The rest is history now.
Now it's a must.
It's a must-have.
Yeah.
But at the time, nobody even thought about it because you went to the shoe store.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, is why they used to call shoe salesmen shoe dogs, because they spend all their time looking down at the ground and looking at people's shoes and kind of sniffing them out, but they had no idea what they went with.
That's interesting.
I mean, they would sell you if wingtip was hot.
Oh, yeah.
They had no idea, and that was the whole key to taking it into the clothing store was this shoe goes with it to build a full look.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I'm so intrigued by Helm.
Yeah.
They're doing that's you are someplace you don't really know where you are. What I'm telling you, you're really in good shape. You're in very good company. So that's cool. What else can we tell them about the store?
I think what you're
it's
saying
neat.
is...
It's just I was taken aback just the first time I came in. I just was like, it was sort of what I expected and not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was. Well, remember, I'm at least your dad's age or more. I may be closer to your grandpa's age.
You're not 27?
No, I'm not 27. Okay. Matter of fact, I'm almost the reverse.
Okay.
I know I don't act it. So, but it is your generation's version of what I'm used to. Awesome. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's a millennial generation of exactly what it should be that was right across from the college campuses, and now those stores really don't exist because the rent's too high. So you're in an area where you not only reach the college student, you reach the young professional. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely the goal. We want it to be a brand
the college
you can
shop went to
transition
jeans
with.
and tennis shoes and t-shirts.
Right.
End of discussion.
Yeah, we see all different guys coming in here for different purposes, for sure. I mean, one thing that we've seen initially is that guys in their early 20s through their 30s do tend to come in here with exploring the brands and still very much interested in building out their personal style. Yeah. And then we see after that break, the mid-30s, and this is just a generalization, but we see more guys either shopping with their wives or the wives shopping for them.
Yes.
And we can't figure out, maybe it's like guys starting to either give up or not. It's a little bit less of a concern for fashion, more so just, does it work for me? It's utilitarian, right? It's like, does this work well for me? And so,
does this make my statement? Is that what you're saying?
I think a lot of guys at that age have already developed what you tag their personal style.
Like, does this fit
so does this fit into that?
It's not about the building anymore. It's like, okay, I've got my personal brand now. Yeah, I've got what works for me. Do you match? What I need? So it's interesting.
Well, if it doesn't, then they're all wrong. They need to reevaluate who they are, where they are at this point in their life.
It's fun for us though because
we love it. We love any age guy comes in here.
It's fun to help the guy who is already developed his style and he's like, this fits into my life. And then it's fun to have the really young guy who's like,
more of an
man, I'm really trying to develop
figure out who I am.
And so we get to participate in both of those stories, which is really fun for us.
Right.
It's an honor, yeah. I mean, like you said, people are either one or the other. They're learning who they are, they know who they are, and we have to find a way to kind of fit into their world.
So it's a men's clothing store.
Yeah.
How do you keep women from buying your T-shirts? I mean,
that's
unsuccessful. Yeah, unsuccessful. Hats, T-shirts, sunglasses, a lot of the grooming and skincare products, candles. It's a little bit of everything for everyone.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So they can come in.
Yes.
I mean, it's a menswear predominantly.
Yeah. We have those trains of strollers that come in for sure in bunches. Ben's a new father, so there's a baby in here quite a bit.
First one?
Yeah.
First one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
First
Happy
shot, baby.
for you. Good job. First baby of the shot.
We don't have any shop dogs, just shop baby.
Oh, yeah, but I think it's fun, too, for us because we, obviously women, we welcome anyone. I think that's the thing Tyler and I found throughout the industry is there can be a lot of, presuppositions made and people assume certain things about people when they walk in the door. Yep. And we've always felt like that's not the kind of store we are or who we want to be. We don't care who you are when you walk in the store. You're the most important customer in the store to us.
Right.
And I think that's something that is important to us, but I think that goes back to the old school way of thinking of just like we care about everyone and we take care of our customers.
And the sales will come.
And I think that's been
not the focus.
Yeah, the numbers will take care of themselves if you take care of the people.
No, you're a quality, high quality and high contact. High relationship sort of thing.
If you come in right now, the odds are you're meeting either one of the founders or the general manager. And I don't know a lot of stores I shop at where that's the case. And now, is that always going to be the case as we grow? And probably not. But I think right now it's a really cool opportunity. You come in and you're going to hear exactly how this thing started. So.
I'm sure. And I would submit to you that no matter how big you get or how long you do this, you will still do that.
Yeah,
no, you will still. Sure. You guys will want the contact.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. Because if not, then you might as well have stayed in the corporate America.
Right.
All you've done is built your own corporate to sit in.
Sure.
So you're gonna maintain that contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it for us to always be engaged and in touch with what the customer wants and expects. I don't ever want to be. I don't think either one of us ever wants to be disconnected from that.
Oh no.
Because
that's the fun of it. That's why.
That's the best part.
That is the best part of this business. I mean, I totally grew up in it, and I stayed in it until I was 33 years old, and there's a number of different reasons that I got out. It wasn't what it was because I started it when I was about 8, 9 years old. I would start traveling with my father.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I had been in it for a long time when I got into it as an adult.
Now you're 40. So
I'm 45. It's just time to grow up. Move on.
I love it.
Go snowboard for the rest of my life.
There you go, man.
That's awesome.
But
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 877-212-5898. Again, 877-212-5898. That's 877-212-5898. 877-212-5898.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back, I hope, or welcome aboard. If it's welcome aboard, you're going to have to learn how to do podcast listening because we're 45 minutes into a 55-minute show. That's a bit of a challenge. I hope you enjoyed the conversation that I had with Mr. Gwynn and Mr. Woods. They're really, really nice young guys and doing a really good thing. You need to go take a look at their website, weatheredcoalition.com. It is absolutely gorgeous. There's more to the conversation that we had. We'll play some more of it. I can't guarantee it next week, but in the very near future. And then you'll hear them talking a bit about their website and some other things that they're doing. So we had, goodness, about an hour's worth of information, and that's just too much for one show. But I felt like you could use some good news and some good attitude from some young people. So shifting gears in the last 8 to 10 minutes that we have, Uncle Bocce and I had a rousing conversation last night at a meeting that we attend on a regular basis. And it had to do with the support or non-support of Donald Trump as the presumptive Republican presidential nominee. Right, Uncle Bocce?
That's right.
Okay. And I got so wound up, I had to ask Bocce tonight before the show what that conversation was about. Because all I could remember was it seemed like he and I were sort of, I won't say we were on opposite sides, but we definitely didn't agree on a couple of little nuances to the conversation.
Yeah, I thought the hamburgers and the French fries were going to fly all over the place. Yeah.
It was a bit of a challenge, and the whole evening was that way because it's a group that gets together once a month and talks politics and talks current events and talks, things in a worldly manner, and some very, very, they're doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs. It's a pretty good crowd, an involved and dedicated crowd. So the deal is, Uncle Bocce, you're not quite ready to support Donald Trump until after he is the real nominee.
That is correct.
Okay. And so you're in the camp with Paul Ryan, and you're not necessarily against Trump.
Right.
Right?
Right. Exactly.
We know you're a Ted Cruz fan, as am I, and
I was too.
That's just because we're Texans. And so, we were voting for the hometown boy. Plus, I think he's extremely qualified.
Very smart.
Very, very smart. But so is Trump. Give the guy justice. May not like the way he plays, but he plays hardball. He knocked 17 competitors out of the ring over a period of time, right. One way or the other. He plays for he plays. That's the way he works. And I don't see any problem with that.
Right.
Quite
right.
frankly, I am challenged by people like that when they are my opponent, because I tend to be more like Cruz, more refined, more, a little softer, gentler, kind of a persuasive person than hardcore, knock you in the head kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But you still want to hold back on Trump, even though there's not much of any way that he won't get the nomination.
Right.
Explain that to me better than you did last night.
Okay. I just anticipate that there are going to be things that are said, speeches made, or whatever at the convention.
Yep.
And Donald Trump, of course, is going to have center stage.
Yep.
And I want to listen very clearly to what he is going to do with the mess that we have.
Okay.
And
So
until I get there,
yeah,
I can't throw my full support behind him and go rah-rah Donald Trump. I will vote for him if he's the nominee all the way, and I will tell others to. However,
but considering the alternative,
yes, I agree. That's.
I don't understand what you're waiting on.
Well, that's
because
the primary.
I don't see him making.
Yeah.
What's it called? I don't see him making policy statements at the convention. That's not what that's about. Mm-hmm. The convention is not about saying, if you elect me president, I will do this.
Right.
And I get the feeling that's what you're looking for.
Well, however, he will have influence on the platform. He's going to have influence, but then other people are going to have influence on the platform.
Well, I understand all of that,
mm-hmm.
and those are the nuances and the technicalities of the convention. And okay, I mean, I understand tonight better than I did last night about where you're coming from. I still disagree with you just as strongly. Just because we don't have any choice. We don't have any choice. I mean, we don't have any choice. We're running against the current administration that is completely out of control and lawless and absolutely personified by not doing anything with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and I support Trump. I think that he will give it to the Washington establishment. I don't think he's going to put up with their shenanigans. I really don't. That's what I'm hoping for. But he hasn't. He's done that little bit by little, but he hasn't really, come to the point where he says, you guys are just flat out all for yourselves. So
I think you're gonna. That's how it. But see, that's you're expecting him to start playing ball already,
yes,
like he's planning on doing in the big election, right? Yes. I think he's going to play those cards. I
tend to agree with you. Also, that's important, not only besides the platform and what other speakers would say, but who is he going to pick for VP?
I would agree with that. And we'll have
now, in the past, that really doesn't. It didn't really make that much difference. It didn't make any difference. It made a big difference for McCain, but McCain screwed it up, he didn't follow through with that.
It scared him after he realized what he'd done.
Yeah, exactly. So this time, because of Trump and who he is, I have a concern of who he chooses. Okay. That's going to tell me a lot about what the man's going to do afterwards.
I would agree with you. Very quickly, let's look at the other side of the coin. We are assuming that everybody thinks that Hillary got off scot-free and deserved to be prosecuted, et cetera, et cetera. But understand, there is approximately half of the country. Let's call half of the country if we divide it up, or at least an equal number of people, Republican, Democrat, lots of libertarians, independents, yada, 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 coming down the middle. But let's assume that there's the same number of people. 40% of the public is Democrat, 40% of the public is Republican, and there's 20% left in between. The other 40%, besides think that Hillary was exonerated. Not that she didn't get away with anything. They don't think that. That's not the deal. The FBI has investigated, and the lady is clean. And then they've been telling those of us on the right-hand side that the lady is clean the whole time. So we're wrong, and the FBI has proven that we were wrong. So we need to sit down and shut up and elect the lady. That's what they're saying. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah, move on. Like you said, move on.
There's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Well,
and like one of the mothers of
but that's what we're up against. We have to be conscious of that fact.
Yes.
We can't act like they just don't get it because they think differently than the way we do. They went into it thinking differently.
Exactly.
There was nothing she could do about Benghazi. What do we expect? I'm playing Democrat on you. What do you expect? There's nothing she could. She was thousands and thousands of miles away. There's nothing she could do. So we're just pulling political shenanigans, trying to blame it on her. We're doing the same thing with the email. All sorts of other secretaries of state have had email servers at their house, and they happen to know what a C in front of a paragraph meant. And you can't punish Hillary because she's stupid. Stupid is not a crime. Unfortunately.
Oh, she's cunning. I don't think she's stupid.
No, she's stupid.
All.
They said she was stupid.
They said she was stupid.
They flat out said she was stupid. That she did not understand what she was looking at.
Okay.
That's what they said. That they didn't think she comprehended. These are FBI's words. That she did not comprehend what she was looking at in those documents.
Number
that
one
she didn't know
qualification.
a C with parentheses around it meant confidential. I'm just saying.
I know.
I'm just telling you. Mm-hmm. But they interviewed her at home, I think, at her house on the Saturday of the 4th of July weekend. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.